race fans, Ryan Aho here, and I was going to say super good-looking, handsome, well-dressed man, Bert Lehman, but I don't know about that I don't know. I'm not sure. Is that a Georgia? I can't tell the color of their Georgia Bulldogs. Is that?
Yeah, Shane Clanton, his special paint scheme from like 15 years ago. I had to wear this. The NFL season starts this coming weekend, and we just did our fantasy football draft right before we're recording this, so I thought it was appropriate.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you picked Jordan Love, Romeo Dobbs, you got Colin Kaepernick, all the good ones. So
I got a couple Packers.
I figured you probably would. I'm a homer. I got a Viking or two in there as well. So episode 193. We're inching closer to 200. Of course, Bert, this brought to you by Zeuli's Race Engines. And I don't know, we're going to get into the points a little bit later, but the old Wolverine, Justin Vogel, Zeuli's Race Engine under the hood. There's a new sheriff in town, Bert. The Wolverine has just taken over the point lead for the Wissota Street Stock Division. So keep an eye on those Zeuli-powered engines. Not only do they win a ton of races, they win championships. Why? Because they're really fast and they're very durable. Get a hold of them. If you can't beat them, you better join them. So let's start. Well, you went racing this week, I assume, right? You go to.
I went to Shawano Speedway. The races during the Shawano County Fair.
I'm just gonna go ahead and ask, right? Because it's been a crazy year over there in Wisconsin. Any major drama, or did you get to end on a high note?
There was no major drama. Ended on a high note. There's really only one champion. Well, there was two championships that were, one was mathematically over. Gunnar Frank won the late model championship. He didn't even show up. He had a large enough lead. He won the championship without being there. Two of the other championships, mathematically, they weren't over, but as long as the driver started, Travis Van Strat, I should have looked this up. He's got to be at like 11 or 12 championships now at Shawano Speedway. Jeffrey Teskey won his second straight IMCA Sport Mod Championship. Tanner Westfall won in the Mighty Fours again. And the championship that was really close was the IMCA Modified. Johnny Whitman held a 2-point lead heading into the final night of racing over Connor Walensky. And Whitman didn't look very good in the heat race. He didn't make I'm not sure how the transfers work, but I mean, he finished fifth, I think, in his heat. So he started back a little ways, but Connor Walensky only started like 2 spots ahead of him. But Whitman finished in the top 4, and he went on and he won the championship. So
it's always fun. It's always fun to have at least one, right? At least one division come down to a championship, and just makes that final night so much more exciting. I know that you kind of talked about it. You're like, man, I'm just kind of super pumped for this season to get back to like maybe a normal season next year. But glad it ended on a high note to the big half mile. Anything else over in Eastern Wisconsin?
Everything was pretty quiet. Sturgeon Bay did have their final show, and Outagamie Speedway had their regular show last week also. To be honest, I didn't look at the results too close, so I can't really report on what happened there. But Outagamie Speedway has one more. Next week they have their fall special. I'm kind of disappointed they moved it up a week compared to previous years. Because I always go to that special, but I can't go this year because I'm going to the World 100 at Eldora. But the Dirt Kings race, last I saw, it was $5,000 to win. So I mean, it's a good paying show. So it should get all of the Eastern cars there at least.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I know there's a couple big Wissota races. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. I actually was up north. I went kind of the Labor Day swing, so to speak, the 51st annual Silver 1000, the 29th annual Wasota Classic, the 45th annual Labor Day Shootout. Get into those in just a little bit, but it was just great getting up there. You know, the racing, some of it was good, some of it not so good, but it's just great. You know, I raced there, cut my teeth there, spent my whole life up there. So being able to go up there and see my parents, see a lot of my old pit crew, my friends, people I raced against that maybe I wasn't friends with at the time, but I get along with them now. It's always good seeing everybody. The weather, Bert, it was unbelievable. I mean, normally you go up to the Labor Day shootout, you got hoodie on, right? You're kind of dressed in warm. It was approaching 100, right? It was in the mid 90s, and in the sun, it was over 100. It was insanely hot, which, you know, makes it very difficult, right, for the track prep crews to really maintain a good racing surface. Overall, I think most of the feature races were pretty good. Some of the heat races, not so much. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll get into a recap of that pretty soon. But let's start with a little hot laps, hot takes, brought to you by our friend Brad Parson, Brad Parson Soil and Ag Solutions. Harvest season is basically here, right? I know very little about farming, right? I know that people are working on stuff all year long. They got planting, they got harvesting, and they do it for one purpose. You want to make money, higher yields, right? More profitability. How do you do that? You got to have the right stuff in those spray solutions. Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542, especially if you're in Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. Give him a call. For racers, by racers. It's worth your time to just give him a call, get educated to see if he has some stuff that can help you. So I kind of had a couple questions come out based on a buddy of mine that I talked to up here this past weekend, Brett, and, you know, kind of relating it to the Wasota 100, right? And gonna segue back, right? Hitting, right? A lot of good car count, way better car count than I anticipated. They had just about 180 cars both nights, a little shy on Sunday. Well, Bert, 90 plus degrees outside, right? They start at 5 o'clock. I mean, the sun is like right there. I mean, it is just beating down, right? I mean, it's very difficult. And I'm critical. I mean, it's hard for me to be a good race fan. It is. I'm sitting up there going, why did they frickin' water the track? What the hell's wrong with these people? I get it, okay? Now, the heat races, Bert, when I watch online, when I watch streaming, the only time I watch a heat race is if somebody messages me and says, hey, heat number 3, you got to check that one out. Or this heat here, that you got to watch that. Otherwise, I just kind of skip and I jump onto the A mains and I'll watch the features, right? World 100, I'll probably watch the heats for that. A little bit different. Most of the time, though, I don't watch heats, okay? Well, that brings me to this, okay? The Wasota 100 it's a big show. It's a lot of cars spread out. I mean, it's a lot of racing. But they have heat races and feature races on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday they have the last chance races and the A-mains. Now the legendary 100, Bert, at Cedar Lake, right? 9 classes of cars, but they don't have heat races. They have time trials, and then they split them up based on however many cars they are into qualifying features, and they get paid each night. So it's kind of a similar deal without the heats. Now, if they do the time trials, I was so against this, Bert, I'll be honest with you. And he's like, what do you like better? What format do you like better? Do you like the qualifying and the qualifying features where there's less racing? Or do you like the full program where there's heats and features? Now, if you asked me this last year before, I'm like, this whole qualifying deal and just features is stupid. I'm like, I hated it. Wasn't for it at all. Bert, I know Puka is the guy that likes to sit there all freaking day long. How many days in a row can you sit there for 7+ hours?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I don't like just the qualifying and the features, but I agree as these shows get longer in duration of days. That's why I think, a perfect show is 2 or 3 days, no more than 2 or 3 days.
How many classes? How many classes?
10. No, I'm
Bullshit. Bullshit.
I would say, well, ideally 3 or 4. Most tracks in eastern Wisconsin for their specials, but they only do like a 2-day special at the most. Some do it all in one day, but they'll run 5, 6, sometimes even 7 divisions, because they'll add divisions over their in addition to their weekly divisions. And I don't like that. I mean, I think 5 at the most, but probably 4 is ideal.
So I'm gonna give you my thoughts. So Cedar Lake has 9 classes, right? It was gonna be 10, but they don't have supers, right? Because they sanction them with soda. The Wasota 100 has 5 classes. That's still going to be a 7-8 hour program. It just is what it is. There ain't nothing you can do about it, right? So if they're going if they're going to have that many classes on all the qualifying nights, I kind of like the time trials now and just the qualifying features, and then you have have the alphabet soup on the last day, right? The D, C, B, and the A main. I'm all for that.
So they run
optimally. Go ahead.
They run all the classes every night.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't do it. I mean, because I remember when I went to the Wasota 100, it was, they ran some of the beginner classes earlier in the week, and then
totally different.
Then it was that was before the B mods were around, but it was just super stocks, modifieds, and late models for the final days.
Yeah, and it used to be late models. It was Thursday was the heats for mods and lates.
Yep.
Friday was the heats for supers, and then all the racing champions. Yeah, and some B mains, and then Saturday was the last chance, and so on.
Yep.
For the Wasota 100, right at I-94, they're going to run streets, Midwest mods, supers, mods, and lates. It's 5 classes of cars. They're going to run heat races, and they'll run. There's no B mains on qualifying nights. It's heat races, and then you got to make it into the A, top so many go into the feature. At the Legendary, they have 9 classes. They do time trials, and then they work the track, or I suppose they work the track, and then they will have all the features lined up. Now, me, right, and I've got to see this a little bit more, because down at Sycamore in Illinois, they have time trials for every class, every night, single car time trials. It's excruciating, right? But the fans are used to it. And what I mean by that is, let's say time trials start at 6:30 and they take an hour 15, 7:30, 7:45. That's when the fans actually start rolling in. Like, most people are like, I can go sit and watch time trials for an hour, not interested. That's the opportunity you have, like at Cedar Lake. You don't necessarily have to sit there all day long. You can be out barbecuing, throwing bags, drinking beer, whatever you want to do. And then, hey, time trials are done. All right, let's get in there. They're about ready to start racing. That's an option. But I want the fans right here in the comments below, right? Whether on YouTube or if you're on Facebook, what do you think, right? Do you like Cedar Lake's format better, that has just time trials? You can watch them or not watch them, and then the qualifying features each night? Or do you like Wasota 100 format, where they draw and then they have heats and they have features for all 5 classes? Put that in the comments. Give us your thoughts. I'd like to hear. Bert, any final thoughts on that?
How many divisions at the Wasota 100?
5. They have 3 that are going to be at Bemidji on Sunday. They actually took the Hornets, the Piers, and the Mod 4s, and they gave them their own special event. That's this coming Sunday in Bemidji. So then it's streets, Midwest mods, supers, mods, and lates. Those 5 classes.
Well, I mean, for the Legendary, there's no way you could run heats and features for 9 divisions in one night. I mean, that would be, you'd have to start at like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah. 2 words for you: Boone Super Nationals.
Well, yeah.
They have 1,000+ cars registered. There's no way. I think I would be willing to bet, Bert, that a lot of people at Boone do not sit there and just watch like that much
No.
racing. There's no
I mean,
way,
basically, at Boone, they're racing 24 hours a day. I mean, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think they're getting up and they're like, well, we want to watch these races. We don't want to watch that. So there's probably quite a bit. So the crowd is probably deceiving because nobody can sit that long. Maybe Puka. That's about it. Now, the Wissota 100, Bert, another question he has is the Wissota 100, being it's a fundraiser for Wissota, why are they nickeling and diming all the drivers if they're essentially taking that money to give back to the drivers? It's the dumbest thing ever, right? So the Wissota 100, Bert, when it was initially formed way back when at the Marshfield Super Speedway, it was designed to be a revenue grab by Wissota, take that money and use that money, and a big chunk of the profit there went to the point fund. That was kind of the big money maker for the point fund, was the revenue they made at that big event. Still is to this day. That is absolutely a fundraiser for the point fund for Wissota. Well, think about this logically. Let's say you're a non-points chaser, right? Nothing against Shane. I was a points guy, right? Shane Sobraski, points guy. He's going to get the money either way, right? He's going to run up front at the special, more than likely. He's going to get a big point fund check at the end. So for him, it don't matter. But let's say you're a guy that runs one night a week, couple nights a week. You're pretty fast at home. You're like, I'm going to go down to the Wissota 100. Bert, you got to pay a big fee to get in, right? They got a draw fee. You literally have to pay to park your hauler, right? I get it. If there's like a spot by the track, hey, that's a premier spot. But I'm talking way back in the nosebleed sections, they charge you, I think, $50 or whatever to pay for your parking your hauler. You got all these fees, four-wheeler fees, and the camping fee at the 100, Bert, is 3 times as much as it is at the USA Nationals. Okay? It just makes no sense. Why on earth are they continuing to add all these fees if at the end of the day, all they're doing is taking that money, right, and giving it back to the drivers anyway? It is absolutely like robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's stupid.
Well, 2 thoughts come to my mind. With that happening, one thought is not all the money is going to the drivers. Money's going elsewhere. I don't know where. Like I said, these are just thoughts that come to, I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
Reckless speculation is what we got going on here. There's nothing substantiated, but this is speculation. And these thoughts, Bert, have gone through the minds of a lot of people, not just you.
And the other thought is, well, we didn't collect, we didn't sell advertising, we didn't get the sponsorship that we needed to get a nice point fund, so we're going to nickel and dime the drivers.
And that's really what it comes down to. We'll talk a little bit more about this next week when Coach Kraus is on, because he's kind of put together some numbers. I put together some numbers. But the fact is, you see Speedway Motors. The Speedway Motors Wissota 100. That's all you see. Well, why, right? Why are they not going, okay, each class has a sponsor. It could be the, I don't know, Halver Lions Wissota late models, for example. Every class should have a sponsor. They could do that, Bert, and they could get a sponsor for every class. Doesn't have to be huge, but figure out what the parking fee and the draw fee is for those classes, right? And just go out there, make a goal to generate that much money to sponsor each class, so you don't have to nickel and dime the drivers. Just your first goal is to get enough sponsor money for each class to save the drivers money. But I don't know, just not enough ambitious people out there doing stuff in the organization, and it's frustrating. And we'll put fans again, put in your thoughts below. What are some ideas, right? Let's help. Let's be a solution-oriented show here today, okay? Because we can sit and hammer on Wissota, but what are some things that Wissota could do, right, to sell advertising spots for, to offset some of the expenses the drivers have, to kind of equal that out and make it so the drivers don't have to pay all these fees and the fans? What are some different things that you've seen at big shows that they can actually sell advertising on, right? Generate money and help out everybody that's coming.
We talked about a payout for the Wissota 100. Have you found a payout for the Wissota 100?
I did, Bert, and it's online under Wissota.org, under the Wissota 100 tab. The payout is there. I don't have it in front of me right here. I will next week. But
Well,
I believe the qualifying features, Bert, for the super stock, somebody was telling me this. I'm going to have to substantiate this. I believe it's $250 to win the super stock feature on qualifying nights. You're going to spend more than that to get in a tire and race cast. That's ridiculous. That is just stupid.
well, the reason I asked is because, I mean, obviously the WISSOTA 100 is supposed to be WISSOTA's premier event. IMCA Super Nationals is IMCA's premier event.
Right.
And it used to be for the IMCA Nationals that winning a feature was more of a prestige thing. You didn't do it for the money because it wasn't, the amount that you won really wasn't that great considering the number of cars that were there. And in the past you had to, I think it was the top 4 had to give up their motors and they were auctioned off. I don't know if that still takes place or not. But while I was trying to find a list of pre-registered drivers for the IMCA Super Nationals, I ran into an article that listed what it paid to win each feature. And the mods, I swear I read this, it's $10,000 to win for the modified,
yeah.
8,000 to win for the stock cars. I didn't look at the other ones, and I was shocked at how high it was to win the event.
Bert, the late models though in IMCA get paid the same as the IMCA hobby stocks is $3,000
Well,
to win.
the late models are not looked at in a high regard in IMCA.
Right? No, it's 10. The premier division at the 100 also it's 10,000 a win for the late models there too. So they consider so that is parallel.
Okay.
But when you look at the amount of contingency awards that are sitting in front of the winners at the IMCA Boone Super Nationals, right? WISSOTA's talked about this for the last couple of years. This show's a week away. Okay. So I can only assume at this point they have no contingency prizes. Okay. Because I have seen nothing. If they do have contingency prizes, those sponsors should be pissed off because I haven't seen them listed anywhere. They should be hyping them up. So if they do have them, they're sucking hind tit at promoting that deal. It's terrible. If they don't have them, shame on WISSOTA for just continuously dropping the ball. We'll have more to come on that next week. And again, people are like, oh, you hate WISSOTA. You just bashed on WISSOTA. No. I bet WISSOTA's been here my whole life. I wanted to get better. It pains me to see something that you look back and you're like, this could be great. And the people running it, either they just don't care, don't know how, don't know what it is, but they just don't seem to improve the product. And it's just discouraging to a lot of people. And it's time. It's been time for a long time. They got to step up, right? And if they don't want to step up and get the job done, please quit and just let somebody else take over. It's all I'm asking. Let somebody else go in there that's willing to put the time and effort into it. So, Bert, let's jump into some positive stuff here. Top 5 stories of the week, okay? Brought to you by Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So, we talk about WISSOTA, right? Racing in general, the cost has to go down. Has to go down. Hard to put the toothpaste back into the tube, but it's getting way out of hand. It's getting crazy, right? If there's a product out there, I don't care what it is, right? If there's a product out there that can help any aspect of a race car, right? If it can help that part last longer and 100% help a driver be competitive and reduce their spending, that is something, right? That the organization should take a good, viable, honest look at to see if maybe we should really look close to see if this is a case. Well, lo and behold, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, they have tire treatment. It's proven. They're using it in other classes. It's legal there. So it's legal in the Gen X late models, okay? Drivers are raving about it. They're literally running tires 5-6 nights and still being highly competitive with that product. If that is in fact the case, WISSOTA should pick a class, right? And be like, you know what? We're going to try this for the 2024 season, see where it goes, right? If it doesn't take much time to use, if it helps the drivers save money, that is good for racing. They should take a good look at this. Promoters, just take a good look at it. Don't listen to what everybody else has to say about it. Do your own research. How do you do that? Call Chad, 507-828-5600. 3536. Get educated and let's together, right? Let's together help reduce the cost of racing. So, Bert, you watched some national stuff, right? Did you get a chance to watch any WISSOTA stuff or whatever?
I watched bits and pieces of some of the late model WISSOTA shows. The first, I believe it was the first feature where there was the last lap pass. I watched pretty much that entire feature. And I saw some other passes for the leads and some of the other features. But
all right,
when
street stock guys, Bert hates you. Hates you.
No.
It is what it is. I don't. I love you. I love you guys and gals, right? Bert hates you. It just is what it is. Just kidding. He doesn't hate you. All right.
There's only so many hours in a day.
I understand. Number 5, we're going to go to the race that you mentioned right there. 29th annual WISSOTA Classic at the Grand Rapids Speedway. Jeff Massengill. He's been red hot, Bert. He's been good. He's been constantly battling again on the podium when the money's on the line. Remember, he got a first and a second the week before at Challenge Series. And boy, he had a couple podiums again, including this win. And he actually, Kevin Burdick led 39 laps in about 3/4 and kind of rolling the high side and kind of looked like he went down to kind of maybe try to roll the bottom on the last lap, missed the mark. Burdick was in the lead. Ryan Michelson had jumped into second. When they come out of turn 2 on the last lap, Jeff Massengill was in 3rd place, and he did what he does best. He parked it right on the tires. He snuck by both of them, went 3rd to 1st in the last corner with a dramatic finish at Grand Rapids. Very exciting race. Probably, in my opinion, as far as all the races go up there, probably the race of the week on that northern swing.
Well, and when I watched that, I knew that Burdick didn't win the race. So I'm not as familiar with the car numbers and stuff. So I'm watching that last lap, and it's like, okay, the second place driver must have got the win, and then they're going into turn 3, and it's like, no, and yeah, I mean Massengill, you said right by the tires, and when he got out of 4, I mean, he got out of the black down into the brown on the straightaway, looking for a little extra traction. And, he crossed the finish line first. And, my reaction was, last week, we talked about the really close Dirt Kings finish at Shawano. And then this race was, here, hold my beer. And
right. And remember, 3 years ago, we were really high on Massengill. He's in the top 5 like night after night, just constantly there. Then they got into that sniper deal, and it's like, bad mistake. And it proved to be that just did not work for him at all. Back in the kryptonite where he belongs. And I think he's, as far as I know, the only kryptonite up there, but that thing is unbelievably fast on the bottom, especially. Keep an eye on that 6M throughout the rest of invitational season. Number 4, Illinois represent, right? Couple World of Outlaw late model races. Bert, I'm guessing you watched both of these, Mississippi Thunder Speedway and over at the Deer Creek Speedway, 2 unbelievably just high octane, high entertaining racing at both tracks. Brandon Shepard and Pierce, first and second both nights. Sheppy won night 1, Pierce got second. Night number 2, Pierce got her done, Sheppy got second. Did Sheppy or did Pierce on the first night, Bert, did he have to go to the work area, come from last to second? I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, because somebody got a flat tire in front of him, and he had nowhere to go, and his right front fender was all bashed in behind the tire, and he came into the work area, and they restarted the race, and like 3 laps later, he was in the top 5, and I was asking myself, did he actually start in the back? Did they put him in the back? I mean, I'm sure he was in the back, but I mean, that's just how because I picked Bishop to win that race for our pick'em. So when Pierce was in the work area, I thought, well, I don't have to worry about Pierce. Well, that was wrong, because he was there right at the end, and Bishop had all he could do to hang on to that victory. I will say watching that race was very frustrating, though, from the standpoint that every couple laps a driver would slow on the track. come into the pit, then they throw the yellow, they come into the pit area. And I mean, one time Jordan Yagi did it. He came into the pit area and he didn't even do anything. Just pull into the pits if you're not going to go back out there. But a caution came out there were so many cautions because drivers just slowed on the track because they wanted to do a pit stop.
Yeah, that's frustrating as all hell when they do that. Which race was better in your opinion? That one, right, at Mississippi Thunder, or the one at Deer Creek?
The one at Deer Creek, that was the one where Sorensen finished third, correct?
Yeah, podium finish for the 28th MD Custom House car.
Because those three cars were battling. It was close racing between all three of those cars throughout the race. I would say Deer Creek was more exciting to watch just because of that. And they were right up by the wall at Deer Creek, so there were lots of sparks and stuff flying.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, speaking of walls, right? Night number 1 down there, Mississippi Thunder, time trials. Chad Mater missed his mark. Not sure what happened. Did you see that in time trials, Bert? He hit the wall opening there and KO'd it, went up and over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's okay. Good thing he's okay, right? Car looked like it took a hell of a hit. And Bob Tim, though, commented on his post there that they're going to take a close look at that. And I'm not sure what they're going to do, but they're looking at maybe making some changes for the 2024 season. That wall opening there is vicious. It's vicious. And it's going to, if they don't all do something, and it's not just there's a lot of tracks that have wall openings. If they don't do something to like get rid of them wall openings, we could see something really, really bad happen.
Yeah, that's not the first time I seen a car flip at Mississippi Thunder after hitting that opening. I was watching the streamed race. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago. Dirt Kings were racing there, but I was watching the modified heat race, and Connor Walensky, who finished second at points at Channel this year, he was racing there, and he did exactly the same thing that Mater did. And he hit that wall opening like that, and the car flipped, and he landed on his roof, I believe, and he had to he races an SSR, so he was close to the headquarters at least, so he could take the car and they get fixed.
Yeah, within driving distance. Now, speaking of Sheppy, right? Little news here this week in the old Brandon Sheppard camp. What happened there?
Yeah, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and it was announced that T-Mac was out as the house driver for Longhorn, and today they made the announcement that Brandon Sheppard is going to be the house driver for Longhorn Chassis. So that's a interesting move, and there was a video yesterday on Facebook of B-Shep testing his car for the World 100, and because it has a special graphics scheme, it's got camo and kind of deer hunting type thing on it. But in the video, somebody asks him, well, who's going to be your crew chief at the 100? And he points to somebody that's out of view at that point, and then Kevin Rumley, he's going to be the crew chief for Sheppard at the World 100. So that's also very telling.
I'm here to tell you that combination together could be extremely dangerous. He's been very fast over the last month. Congratulations to Brandon Sheppard. Lights blinking over here. I'm like, what is going on here? I got a cop coming or what? But so Brandon Sheppard in the house car. So number 3, let's go World of Outlaw, but let's go buggy sprint car action. Did you watch any of the World of Outlaws this weekend at all?
I did not. No.
It's worth watching the first night from Skagit. Unbelievable. Okay. Old Buggy Bobby, Sheldon Hottenchild from 16th, Bert, to win. The cushion was low on the track. Like, you know how it gets when the cushion's kind of mid-track? He was just absolutely driving over the cushion, up into the loose stuff, turning the car and shooting by people like a rocket. I mean, it's never been a doubt, right, that old Sheldon there's got big, cojones. He proved it right there. Probably the most entertaining race overall of the weekend was him from 16th to get it done. That's on Dirt Vision. Check that one out. The other winners in the World of Outlaw Sprints, while we're on it, they had 3 nights at Skagit. Night number 2 went to Rico Abreu. Night number 3, Brad Sweet. And then Monday, they ran at Grace Harbor, and Logan Schuhart got that one done. So,
well, and the surprising thing about the buggies is, we talked about this year about, this could be the year that Brad Sweet, doesn't win the championship. And, Gravel was winning all these races in the middle of the year. And I was reading that results article, and Sweet's up by like 68 points.
yeah, he's stretching it out again. Gravel's not had the best couple weeks. We already know Brad Sweet, extremely consistent. And he's going home right this weekend. Isn't this the track that him and Kyle Larson kind of co-run or whatever? Chico Speedway or Silver Dollar Speedway?
I'm not sure. Could be.
Yeah. I think him and Kyle Larson are co-promoters of that place. So he's kind of heading to the home front. Number 2, little street stock. I know you don't like street stocks. You only like late models. I get it. I'm just kidding. But there's always a lot of good Wissota street stock action. There's a ton of it. And 2 races come to mind for me, and the fans can put which one they liked better. You can jump on a Dirt Race Central to watch these. Okay, so they had the Big Buck Nationals, Bert, out at the Brown County Speedway in Aberdeen, which was a 3-day show out there. Kyle Anderson from 23rd to win. That is a hell of a race right there. 23rd to 1st at Brown County for Kyle Anderson. That was impressive. Also impressive, night number 1 of the Labor Day doubleheader at the Viking Speedway. Colton Brower in an absolute shootout with Trainer, Justin Vogel. I think Andrew Hansen was in the mix. Colby Keel was up there for a while. But that was a Donnybrook. Justin Vogel throwing absolute haymaker sliders, and Colton Brower just kind of fending him off, parking it in victory lane for another big win in the top 5 of the national standings. Fans, put in the comments below if you saw those. Which race did you like better? The one with Kyle Anderson or the one Colton Brower won at Viking? And number 1, Bert, our number 1 storyline moment of the week comes from the Labor Day shootout up in Hibbing, Minnesota, 45th annual to be exact. Kyle Peterlin doubling up in the late models. Now, Bert, I believe he's the first local late model to ever double up at the Labor Day shootout, right? I think Door's done it, Eggersdorf, right? But first local. And not only did he win both nights, he won the Challenge Series race earlier in the year, and he won the $5,000 to win race. That's 4 for 4 in big shows at the Hibbing Raceway for Kyle Peterlin. I mean, that's a huge congrats. Bert, when I was racing Superstocks hot and heavy, he's quite a bit younger. He'd kind of travel with us, and we'd race a lot of the same tracks, park next to each other, friends with the family. And it's super cool looking down, and seeing somebody I raced against, and kind of, I was kind of there as he was growing racing, seeing how great of a race car driver he's turned into. So a huge congratulations to Kyle Peterlin and the family on a very successful Labor Day weekend and year at the Hibbing Raceway. Did you get to watch those races, Bert, the late models at Hibbing?
I watched some of them, yes.
It was those races could have been 20 laps throw the checkered, because both of them were just straight rubber. Now, he had to pass for the lead both nights. He got that done early.
Yeah, he was battling with Harry Hansen in that one race that I watched. And there's a little bit of contact between the two at one point.
There was. He kind of leaned on old Harry a little bit, and then Harry came back swinging. Harry kind of got him back, and then he got back. That was a really great race for a little while. And then it locked down, and then he had to drive around Jesse Radesky the next night to get it done. And the one thing that stuck out to me, probably more than anything at Labor Day, was a lot of the late model guys. When Hibbing trains up on the bottom for the late models, like on a Labor Day shootout, the leaders don't even try to pass the line. Right? They're like, I'm not getting out of line. And I saw many drivers, Patrick Kelly and several others, where the leader get inside of them to lap them, and they literally just boom right to the top, got out of the way, didn't even try to race the leaders. That's the tip of the cap, right? Yeah. You don't need to be costing somebody a win because you're trying to race with the leader as the 18th place car, and that was just good to see. So let's jump into a little who's hot and who's not. Bert, brought to you by our friends at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating right over in Ashland, Wisconsin. And, of course, we got the Red Clay Classic coming up here in just a couple weeks. Chris is right out of Ashland. He'll also have the fast lane truck at the Gondikla Speedway this weekend for the Northern Nationals. Whether you need a new Galloper chassis, fab work, powder coating, sandblasting, parts, tires, you name it, there's nobody better. Give Chris a call. Great guy over there in Ashland. Proud sponsor of the Fastlane Superstock Series as well. So, Bert, who's hot?
Well, nationally, I'll take the low hanging fruit, and I'll say Bobby Pierce. He won at Deer Creek and was second at Mississippi Thunder. So he just continues to run up front, even when he is involved in accidents. He still runs up front.
Did you see he ran Sunday too?
Oh,
he went to Moberly for I think a Lucas Oil MLRA maybe or something like that.
Okay.
He parked in Victory Lane at that one
okay,
too. So I'm with you.
then
He's hot.
then he's really deserving.
How about locally? Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Troy Springborn. He won the late model feature at Toronto Speedway during the fair. So other than, he missed a week when he went and raced at followed the Dirt Kings tour. But if you take out that week, he's won 3 straight at Toronto Speedway. So
I'll stay Illinois. Gonna go to the other guy, the B5, Brandon Shepard. It feels like when he ran the Rumley House car, one night or a couple nights, started developing a relationship. Kind of had to work through some woes, got off to a slow start. Bert, over the last month, right? It maybe started with winning the Prairie Dirt. What did he win? He didn't win the PDC. He won one of them big races. What the hell did he win?
Yeah,
it wasn't the PDC. It wasn't that, but he won one of them big ones here. I feel like we should have that in front of us. Anyway, over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, that car has progressively got faster and faster and faster. Brandon Shepard is no longer the odd man out. Like, everybody's fast in these cars except him. They found it. They're ready. They're ready to roll. They're locked in. Brandon Shepard is going to he's going to close out this season in a big way. Keep an eye on him. Now, locally, you're reigning, defending Wissota late model national champion, the hot shoe Chad Becker, is coming for the TPO. Bert, 4 for 4 on the weekend, 7 straight wins for Chad Becker. He's now 1 point behind Tyler Peterson for the national point lead. It's on. It's on now. They're going to see each other a lot over the next few weeks. Chad Becker, he's done it before. TPO's got national championships as well. He ain't no dummy. He knows what to do. But somebody woke up. Chad Becker's coming. He's come to play. She's gonna get pretty darn interesting pretty fast. I'm also gonna go with the Wolverine, Justin Vogel, new national point leader in the Wissota Street Stock division. He's been absolutely red hot as well. So Becker, Vogel, Lucas Rodin, 4 for 4 this past weekend. Of course, we talked about Peterlin. Cream rises to the top at invite time, Bert. That's just what happens. Who's not?
Oh, I didn't even think. You go first. I'll think of one.
Pat Dorr.
Yeah.
Pat Dorr. Oh, he got the offer. Nobody in their right mind would have said Pat Dorr's going to come up over Labor Day weekend, 4 Challenge Series shows, the Silver, the Classic, both days of Labor Day, and he's not even going to get a win. I don't know. He's going to be the favorite to win the one night at Superior this week, I would have to say. But, boy, as fast as he was at the beginning of the year, he's just kind of human now. Now, I'll give him the save of the week. He got spun out there night number 2 in Hibbing, and he did a complete 360. I thought he was going to destroy stuff. Spun around like the old Rockford Files car there and kept on going. But Pat Dorr is a guy that we'll see if we can maybe wake him up a little. Not hot list for the Double One Express. And I got one more here. Bert, this one's painful for me. I was excited. I was excited to take this guy off the list. He was off. If he would have just stayed home on Sunday, he would have been off the list, right? Been on the list for a long time. Been saying, man, he's struggling to win them big ones. Got a bunch of wins at home. 45J, Johnny Broking. Night number one of the Labor Day shootout. Got her done. Hard charger at the Silver 1000. He came, I think, 13th to 3rd or 15th to 15th to the 3rd, I think. Hell of a good run up there. 2 nights this week in the Little Circles again. Spun out on his home turf in the heat. And definitely the heartbreak of the weekend, Bert. Leading night number 2, looking pretty comfortable, probably going to double up. Inexplicably, just completely spun out in front of the whole field leading, and that just don't happen often. So after that, I kind of got to put him back on the not hot list. Gonna have to redeem himself this week. He was close, Bert. He was close. He was off the not hot list for a minute. After the heat race, he came rubbered up 1 lane on the bottom. He started in the back of the heat and worked all the way to the front. Got himself a front row starting spot. I'm like, he's for sure off the not hot list. Nope, still on it. Love you, Johnny, but got to get her figured out here, buddy. Your turn.
Nationally, we talked about him. I'm gonna go with David Gravel. He got, a lot of big victories mid-season, but since then, the points battle, he was in the lead, then Sweet would be in the lead, then he'd be back in the lead, and now Sweet has pulled out to a 68-point lead around that area. So I'm going to go with David Gravel on the not hot list.
Anybody locally, or are you gonna?
I'll punt on that one. I don't have anybody that comes to mind.
Bert's kind of scared. All right. So we're going to bring in a postseason recap here. We're going to fly through, just do a quick synopsis of what is happening in the postseason. Bert, I know you didn't get a chance to really watch a lot of WISSOTA stuff, but maybe this will keep you in tune. This brought to you by buyraceshirts.com. If you need hats, if you need shirts, hoodies, jackets, any kind of apparel for your race team, your business, your club, whatever it is, for racers, by racers, check them out at buyraceshirts.com. So, this week in the Labor Day swing, Silver 1000, night number 1 of the 4-night swing, the Hermantown Hammer. Daryl Nelson parking in Victory Lane. Little interesting on this one, though, Bert. So he wins, right? Night number 1, wins in the late model the day before in the hospital. I was talking to a guy that works for him. Daryl literally passed out at work, tipped right over. Exhaustion, right? Dehydration. It was smoking hot out. Guy works like an animal. Went to the hospital. He's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to race or not. Got out of the hospital, went and raced, parking Victory Lane. Glad to see he's okay. Glad to see he's up front. And Dan Ebert taking some time off there. No USMTS for like a 3 or 4 week swing here, but he took the 60 over to Proctor for the silver and parked it in Victory Lane. WISSOTA Classic, we talked about Jeff Massengill, Shane Sabraski in the mods. Front row for the Superstocks, Bert. Inside row number 1, DJ Keeler, a gentleman from Superior area. Outside of him, the Iron Man, Shane Sabraski. Who do you suppose won that one?
Sabraski.
DJ Keeler. Good answer. You were right on it there. DJ Keeler, awesome race. That was an excellent race. Did what he had to do. Kind of an on-the-bottom deal. Very smooth. Sabraski overdrove. Bert, he spun out. Shane Sabraski spun out. Saved it, but he fell back to 6th. Got back to 4th. So he's human after all. But DJ Keeler with the win. Jason Vandenkamp in the Midwest Mods and Baumgartner there in the Pure Stocks. Labor Day shootout. We talked about Peterlin winning both nights. Johnny Broking won night number 1. Shane Sabraski inherited the lead. What do you suppose happened there? You are correct, Bert. Don Ishins drove by Shane Sabraski. You are correct. Good call there. So Don Ishins a rare visit up to the Hibbing Raceway. I don't know how many times he's been up. Not many, but he drove around Shane Sabraski. Tall task. That was probably one of the better features. Johnny disagrees. I get it, but it was entertaining watching those two battle for the lead. Super Stocks, Sabraski doubled up at Hibbing. Midwest Mods, Devin Van House, night number 1, and Marcus Dunbar from Michigan. Jeff, there it is, Upper Peninsula, represent. And national point leader Justin Barsness and the Hornets. Bert, Thunder Bay, Thunder City Speedway this past Wednesday, they had their season championship night, their postseason invitational in a couple weeks. Did you happen to see what the split the pot, the winner's share of the split the pot was?
No.
What would you say? Give me just a number. You're like, boy, that'd be a pretty good payday right there if they could win that.
What division or how does it work?
Split the pot. You buy the tickets and they draw it out, and the track keeps half, and you get
Okay,
a split
50,
pot.
okay,
50 50 split the pot. Yep.
Um, for a local track, a good payday would be 2,000.
This is just a regular night season finale, not an invitational. Bert, the winner's share was
Wow.
$12,560. Unbelievable. The culture they have there, the fan base. Bert, that place right there, Thunder Bay having good racing is good for my region. I'm talking Superior, Hibbing, Ashland, Proctor, Grand Rapids. When Thunder Bay is flourishing, all these area tracks during invite time flourish because their drivers and fans come down. I'm so pumped to see racing up there. Really cool deal. Topazzini was 1 point ahead of Joel Kreiderman going into the night, 18-point lead, I think, on Tanner Williamson. Cowboy Up Racetrack. Bert, when it ended at the end of the night, Kreiderman and Topazzini, Kreiderman beat him by 1 spot. I think they got 8th or 9th. Williamson from 18 points back passed them both on the final night to win the championship. Great battle up there north of the border. Big Buck Nationals in Aberdeen. We talked about it. Chad Becker, 4 for 4 on the weekend, 3 there, 1 at Casino. Modifieds, Mike Stearns, Dale Ames, Joe Thomas. They all won their 3 nights. Super Stocks, night 1, Trevor Nelson. Night number 2, Trevor Nelson. Night number 3,
Trevor Nelson.
No. The 20, Jeremy North drove by Trevor Nelson. That don't happen often either. Congratulations, tip of the cap, Jeremy North, Trevor Nelson coming though. Not going to catch Shane, but he might catch Dexton. Lucas Rodin went 4 for 4 on the week, and then Kyle Anderson, Chris Sayre, and Maria Brooksick, a winner there. KRA Season Championship. I want to give a couple of shout outs here. Ryan Flotten, second year in a modified. We'll see him get the win. Blake Adams making the rare trip down to Wilmer. Bird. He had to start 8th at the KRA Speedway. His first time there. 8th to 1st for the 3rd generation racer. Pretty cool. Electric City Speedway. We got 27th annual Montana Roundup. 8 in a row for the Zeuli powered 11 star of Rob Petroff. So congratulations. 8 wins in a row is pretty impressive. Here's one for you, Bert. You're a late model guy. Gillette, Wyoming, East-West class, triple header, right? This is, I don't know what annual it is, but they've been doing it for a long time. We've seen a lot of the WISSOTA guys head west for the triple header for national points, right? Well, they're no longer WISSOTA for the late models. They get the High Plains Late Model Series. We saw people taking trips out there over the last couple of years. 3 cars, 6 cars, right? 9 cars, all that. Bert, 25 cars. 25 late models. I think they made the right decision out there. Congrats to them. Some things don't change, though. Eddie Kirchhoff still won 2 of 3, and Lyndon Bolt won the other. Midwest Mods, surprise, surprise. Troy and Tony Liker each won tonight. And I think Austin Long, I think, is what it is here. Can't read my own writing, but he won the other one. Mod 4, Bert? Mod 4, there was a guy, we kind of given old Dean Larson a little bit of grief earlier this year. He's got 34 wins. We're like, this guy keeps heading all the way out there to race a Mod 4 weekly. Well, Dustin Holtquist made the trip out there, right? Because he's trying to beat him in the national standings. 3 for 3 out there. Guess what? He passed him up in the points, as did the TB81 of Tommy Bowden. 34 feature wins, Bert, and he's 3rd in national points. That's crazy. That's what car counts do to you, though, right? So we talked about the World of Outlaws, River Cities. Dustin Strand got it done on the late model. Bert, he's won a lot of races there. Lots of races, right? Could this be the year the 71 gets it done at the sites? Could this be the year? We'll find out here this weekend, right? Devils Lake Speedway, Tucker Peterson with a pair of wins. Austin Hunter from north of the border in Rodine. Greenbush had NLRA late model races this weekend, Bert. Up for the late models, Greenbush, Northern Minnesota. Do you know who won both of those races?
No.
Tyler.
Oh, TPO?
No, Mike Gressa. Close though, close. Mike Gressa doubling up. Tyler Peterson struggled. He did go 10th to 3rd on night number 2.
Yeah, I should have known that. I read TPO's Facebook page today, and he said he had a crummy weekend.
He did there. He won both nights of the mods, though, right? So he did. I mean, it's not like he had a crummy weekend, but he didn't have the weekend he was looking for in the late models, and all the points are close. But Gressa is super fast. Street stocks, Jeremy Gust won both. Midwest mods, Connor Graff and Justin Olson won respective nights. And Josh Berg, your Wissota National Point Leader in the Pure Stock Division, getting a pair of wins in northern Minnesota. Mighty Axe over in Brainerd, Minnesota, Super Stocks, Tim Johnson, Dylan Nelson won their respective nights. The Mod 4s, the TB81, who is your new Wissota Mod 4 National Point Leader, won night number 1. Justin Jones, who I don't believe has ever raced a Mod 4. He's a Midwest Mod guy, jumped in a guy's car, kept old Dean Larson out of victory lane on night number 2. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models, Bert. I know you watched this, right? So Portsmouth, they ran night number 1. RTJ. Anything exciting happen at Portsmouth there?
Actually, I did not watch the Lucas Oil races.
Bert, you want to know the most exciting thing about Portsmouth, in my opinion? The Dirt Track World Championship is not there this year. I'm excited about that. Yeah. I'm excited about that. So RTJ, there was some kind of a race the night before. He won both of them. Moran 2nd, Dalton Wilson 3rd on night number 1 of the Lucas races.
I was just going to say you're excited that the Dirt Track World Championship's not there anymore. Well, it's at Eldora. Eldora, and those races haven't been that great recently, so we'll see.
Chances are it'll be better than Portsmouth. So that one lane on the top is better than one lane on the bottom. Just, yeah. 55th annual Hillbilly 100 at Tyler County. Superman, Jonathan Davenport. It's kind of like a wind-up toy, right? Kind of pulling it back a little bit, get a win, and we're ready for the world. Because Jonathan Davenport is good at Eldora. Dalton Wilson 2nd, Overton 3rd. Dalton Wilson with a pair of podiums this weekend. He's on the rise. Excuse me, on the rise here in 2023. Dalton Wilson is going to be a kid to keep an eye on here in the next couple of years. Very quietly impressive. It's like he's always there, kind of stays out of trouble in the conversation, not getting the wins, but folks, keep an eye on that name, Dalton Wilson. Sycamore Speedway, Bert. I wasn't there this week with my boy, but 5 straight wins for Dave Dulciak. 8 on the year. Got a question for you. Got a question for everybody in the comments below. Is it time that we start a bounty on the 83?
You're getting there. I don't think 5 is quite there yet.
Well, he's got 8. It's just 5 in a row.
Okay. Well, normally you start a bounty though when it's in a row.
Well, that's 5 in a row.
I would say a couple more and then a bounty.
There's only 4 nights left.
Well, 2 more than a bounty.
two more than a bounty. All right. Viking Speedway, Brady Gertis parking in victory lanes both nights. I know Castriva won in the supers. It's kind of counting on Coach Kraus for that one, but we ended up having to do this after the draft, so I didn't write down the notes. Sorry to the Viking Speedway folks. But we'll make sure that Jeff gives them a little extra love on the Dirt podcast. So points right now, Bert. Minnesota National points in a nutshell. Late models. Tyler Peterson had a big lead about a week and a half ago. That lead is now gone. He's by 1 point leading over a red-hot Chad Becker. Going to be very interesting with about a month of specials to go. Modified, Shane Sobraski sailing off into the sunset, right? But it's a battle for second. There's 5 cars that I can see. Four really. There's a couple more there, but 4. Joe Thomas, Johnny Broking, Brady Gertis, Tyler Peterson, even though he's not not quite kicking everything out yet. Those 4 drivers in a battle for second. I don't think any of them can just string enough together to chase down the 7A. I don't want to call it yet, but it's going to be a good battle for second. Superstock 7A, 29 wins. Bertie's one away from the 30 that he needs, right? But Trevor Nelson within one, maybe two good races here of tracking down Dexton Cook. Good battle for second in the supers. Midwest Mods, Zach Benson is eons ahead. He had a horrible weekend. I mean, he was not good at the Labor Day swing. He was just not good, but he did it right. He got that lead early, and I think he's got 17 or 18 wins on the year, and I don't think anybody else has 10. So he's got a pretty big lead right now. Street stocks, we talked about that one. Justin Vogel, 4 points ahead of Braden Brower. And then you have Tucker Peterson, Colton Brower, and Maria Brooksick. 5 drivers there, but Justin Vogel, he has 16 112 full car count feature wins. Braden Brower's only got 9. Okay. So it's looking to me like they made some poor decisions. I'm just going to be completely honest. They kind of drove out of the way to go race at all over different racetracks. And the fact that he has so many low car count feature wins, that's the difference in the points battle right now. They probably didn't play this one right. It might come back to bite him in the ass. Still a lot of season left, but he's going to have to start. Not only is he going to have to stack wins, he's going to have to keep 10 out of victory lane to get this deal done here in 2023. So Braden Brower, there ain't no more dodging Justin Vogel. You better follow him around and whoop his ass if you want to have a chance. That's a tough task, but that's what you're going to have to do from here on out. Mod 4s. Talked about Dean Larson, huge lead. He had 20 wins 3 months ago, Bert. 34 wins on the year. TB81, Tommy Bowden, is 1 point ahead of Dustin Holquist in the 2208 to 2207. Dean Larson at 2205. 3-way battle for the natty right there. That's a pretty good one. And then the Pure Stocks, Josh Berg got a pretty healthy lead, and the Hornets, Justin Barson. So there's your little recap. I had some people asking for a little points recap. Figured we'd get that to them here before this weekend. So let's jump into our weekly pick'ems, Bert, brought to you by our friends over at Impact Health Sharing. That time of year, open enrollment. If you pay for your own health insurance, if you own a business, got employees, family, if you farm, whatever it is, right? If you feel like you're paying too much or you don't have it because you don't want to pay much, hit me up, get me a text, get me a call, Facebook message, 218-969-1380. Families coming in around $600 a month, roughly, with a $2,500 deductible for the entire family. So it's worth looking into. I can get you some information. So, Bert, this last week's recap, Bert, were you cheating last week? Were you?
I was not cheating.
I think you're softening your tires or some shit. I'm just saying. So, Bert, you got plus 17. Plus 17. Dan was plus 15. Curtis plus 14. Mike and Kent plus 13. Brad plus 8. Carl plus 6. Jeff plus 5. And Jackass in the 71, his tire bulminated or something, came apart. I'm not really sure what happened. I have 4 freaking points. What the hell? Pat Dorer, all these freaking people, Shane Sabraski. I just shake my head. So, points right now as they sit. Bert, you're at 155 with a 1 point lead over Curtis. Brad is at 138. Mike at 137. Dan at 134. Kind of a 3-way battle for third. Kent is at 122 and I'm at 120. So we're trying to sneak into the top 5. And then you got the Erickson boys. They're kind of battling it out to see who's a stellar dweller. Carl at 116 and Jeff at 108. So, ouch. The Ericksons, 3 Finlanders down on the bottom. I don't know what that is. I'm just saying. So this week, I was looking at Jeff sent us, and if you're watching it, you can kind of see on the video what we're going to pick this week. The World 100, this little race over in Burkittville, Ohio, it says. Burkittville, Ohio. I don't really think it's in Burkittville. We're going to go with Rossburg.
Yeah.
Silver Dollar Speedway. 3 nights for the World of Outlaw Sprints down in Chico, California. Northern Nationals this week. Gondik Law Speedway, Oliver, Wisconsin. Not Oliver. Superior, Wisconsin. Oliver's right next door, right? Super Nationals at Boone. We're going to pick the dance for the modifieds and the stock cars. John Seitz Memorial and the Prelude. We're going to pick mods and lates there. And then the Dirt Kings at the Outagamie Speedway in Black Creek, Wisconsin.
Seymour.
Oh, Seymour. Okay. Did you see that? He's writing down all those goofy towns. Yeah,
no,
look at our picture. I'm like,
okay.
I caught it. So you have to take a look at that.
Black Creek is right next to Seymour, but the track is in Seymour. I mean, the track is like in Seymour. It's in the city.
Yeah, Jeff getting creative there is what he's doing. All right. So the last lap here, Bert, brought to you by Dirt Track Supply, home of the Aero Chassis, right over in Watertown. If you need tires, fab work done, if you need an Aero Chassis, just want to talk racing. Ron and Trevor, great ambassadors to the sport. Both have had great success. They help a lot of people. They just love racing. Give them guys a call. They service a lot of racetracks. They will be at the WISSOTA 100 as well. NLRA points are going to end this week, Bert. Night number 1 of the Sites Memorial, the prelude to the Johnny, Thursday night. Mike Gresseth looking to go 3 for 3. He won the last 2, his rookie year and his second year. And Brad Singh kind of let it fade away, but 2 wins this past week at Greenbush. Gresseth with the upper hand, pretty healthy lead, looking to go for the trifecta. I'm going to ask you, Bert, this weekend, we got a bunch of races coming up. The ones I mentioned, there's a few other ones here as well. One I should mention, right, is the WISSOTA MPH Invitational. The WISSOTA Mod 4s, Pure Stocks, and Hornets getting their own invitational this Sunday at the home of the Chicken Shack in Bemidji. What is Bert Lehman looking forward to? You going to some little, I don't know, like demo derby race or something? You got something going on this weekend, don't you?
Well, I mean, there's so many races to look forward to. If I wasn't going to this race, I'd be probably propped in front of well, actually, I'd be going to Outagamie Speedway watching the Dirt Kings on Saturday, but I'd be watching a lot of streaming races. Well, I probably still will, but there's not very good cell service at Eldora. I'm going to Eldora for the World. Last time I went to the World was in 2019, so it's been like 4 years since I've been there. So looking forward to it. The World is always, even though the racing hasn't been the greatest at Eldora recently, it's still fun just going to the event. Facebook has been littered with drivers who are going to be having special graphic schemes on their race cars for the World 100. Davenport has a different paint scheme. Marlar has one. Devin Moran has a different scheme. I think Dalton Wilson. Yeah, Sheppy. Dalton Wilson has one. And so it's always fun to see. RTJ has a different scheme. His car is, there's a lot of white in it with just a little bit of blue on the side. So, the drivers they take this race pretty serious. And, there used to be best appearing car award where the driver and the graphics company would get like $1,000 or something. I don't think they do that anymore, but the drivers just do special schemes. I don't know if Bobby Pierce is doing one. He usually does one. Okay. Yep. And, it's fun seeing those special schemes, but it's hard on the pocketbook if you're a diecast collector. And so there is that.
I got to ask you this, right? So you got the World 100 coming up. What is it? The 56th annual, I think is what it is. 50, 58, 56, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I'm not sure where.
So it's like 56, 57,000 win. The Dream's 121 or so, 123 this year. I think it was 123. The Dirt Track World Championship's going to be 100, right? So the World 100, which race in your mind is the true crown jewel of them all? Which is the biggest, most prestigious race of the three, and why?
The World 100, just because of it doesn't have not financially, but the prestige that goes with the World 100 is just, every dirt late model driver wants that globe. Although I am not I'd rather have the old trophy where they actually had the big globe rather than this new modern one that they have. But anyway, I
Yes.
digress. But getting that globe is the goal for almost any dirt late model driver that races. There's just so much prestige with that race. Where I mean, the Dream, you get more money, but I don't even know what the trophy is for the Dream. I mean, for the World 100, what the trophy is. Everybody knows what the trophy is.
I totally agree. I argue with my boy Brian once in a while. He's like, "Well, if they're $100,000 to win, they're a crown jewel." I'm like, "Bullshit!" Right? Like it's maybe not. I totally disagree. I think it goes off of prestige, and I would agree, Bert. You ask any one of those drivers which race, if they had one to win, what would it be? Boy, I tell you what, the vast majority would say, "I want the World 100." So
I've only been to one Dream. I mean, actually, the Dream I went to, that was the first time I was ever at Eldora. But the atmosphere at the World is just different than for the Dream is different than it is for the compared to the World. The two races, they're two different atmospheres. It's just a much better atmosphere at the World 100. There's more people there, and it's just the race everybody wants to win.
I mean, plain and simple, right? You just take a look at it. When the crowd's twice as big, maybe not twice as big, but a lot bigger, that's saying something, right? So have fun over at that. Kind of wish I could join you. I never know where I'm going to end up. I'm not positive yet, so maybe. I'm looking forward to a couple local ones, right? The Northern Nationals in Superior, Wisconsin, the Russ Larson Classic, and then you got the John Seitz Memorial at Grand Forks. Both of those are two fantastic races on a local level. In Wissota country, a lot of national title implications on the line as well.
And actually, I mean, the Seitz Memorial race, I watched it last year. I watched the stream, and that's a cool little track that they race on. I mean, that's actually a race I would like to get to someday. I would put that on my bucket list to make it to that race one day.
You got to tell them freaking clowns in Eldora this weekend to quit scheduling their shit on top of it. Then I'm just saying.
And because the racing looks like it's really, really cool there. And I became more familiar with it after we had Aaron Turnbull on the show because he won it several times in a row, and so then I became more familiar with it, and I know AJ Demos won it a couple of times. And actually, when I was, looking at race results from the past, Demo, I'm assuming he's going. He has not finished outside of the top 3 in that race since 2011. He's been in the top 3 every year since starting in 2012 through last year. He's finished in the top 3.
She's a new day. I think he's going to be there, but I think his days are numbered. We'll find out. So I want to give a shout out Dustin Sorensen too. Boy, they struggled with that 28 this year. Big learning curve, hell of a driver, but getting a podium there with the World of Outlaws, 3rd place finish, being competitive, kind of battling with them guys up front. A good run for him. Now Tyler Erb made the transition to MB as well, right? People awfully critical. You kind of sent us something. I think you sent that in the group chat. Was that you that sent that earlier?
Mm-hmm. No.
Somebody sent something earlier. Somebody was kind of chirping him online, saying, "What the hell are you thinking? Getting an MB? Are you out of your mind? There's not on the national scene." And he went on to basically post something back, paraphrasing. Well, here's my address. Go ahead, send me a blank check. I'll buy whatever the heck you want. Give me your give me your address. I'll send you the receipt. Until then, shut up. So we'll see. Jury's going to be out if that's going to be a good move or a bad move. We know that he was struggling pretty heavily with that rocket. So maybe the change will do him good. We'll see.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, it seemed like over the last week there were several drivers that announced. Well, Bronson announced that he was switching to a Longhorn. I mean, there's not many rocket drivers left. So that immediately, I thought of this question, and I'll ask you this question: is that good for racing for everybody to gravitate to only one chassis?
It's all cyclical, right? I mean, you look in the Wissota country, which is a step above the open stuff. Just kidding, relax, sarcasm, kidding, right? But the NLRA series, Rocket Chassis, Mike Gresseth leading that. National points, Tyler Peterson, XR1 Rocket leading that. Challenge series, Pat Dorr, XR1 Rocket leading that. So I think Rocket's plenty good. They're good all over the country, especially in different pockets, regional stuff, all that. For whatever reason, on the big national touring series stuff, the Longhorns are just maybe a titch up from them, and it don't take much, right? You just a little bit better, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, everybody's got to have one of them. Well, that could change. That could next year. It could be who knows what. So, but if they're all the same thing, the cream's still going to rise to the top. Best driver wins. Then it's almost like the old IROC series, I guess.
Well, I mean, it used to be everybody was in a Rocket. I mean,
right.
And well, I mean, you know,
Masters built for a while.
Well,
right.
I was just going to say, you know, in the 90s, the Masters built were very popular, and now you don't even. I mean, you hear Masters built mentioned every now and then, but you know, not much on the national scene at all.
For sure. Little craziness over at Beaver Dam. Bert, what happened there?
Yeah, I believe it was a Superstock feature. Larry Richards, he's a driver, and I mean, I first saw on Facebook on Tuesday night posts from Beaver Dam Raceway stating that there was a medical situation at the racetrack, and the rest of the night's races have been canceled, and that's all that was posted, and nobody else was really sharing any information on Facebook. So, but then eventually, as the next day and even the next day, you know, more information came out, and it turns out that Larry Richards, after his race, he pulled into the tech area, and the person who was handing out bottles of water to the drivers, a 12-year-old kid, apparently went over by him and you know, asked if he wanted some water, and Larry didn't respond. And then the person looked at kind of, I guess this is what I read in an article, kind of pushed on him, you know, to get his attention, and he didn't respond. So then the kid got some other people there, and long story short, while he was in his, I mean, he had taken his helmet off, but he had stopped breathing. I'm not exactly sure what caused it, but they, you know, they got him out of the car. The medical personnel, basically, what I understand, revived him, and he's in the hospital. I've read that he has a long way to go, but he's alert, and he has some short-term memory loss. But I mean, it could have been a really bad situation, and so just the fact that he's still with us and alert and everything is a very good sign.
Yeah, I tell you what, you know, thank God for that kid. And there's some tracks that have raced at, Bert, where, you know, they'll give bottles of water, especially when it's hot. You know, they'll give bottles of water to the drivers when they come through tech. I mean, you know, 32 pack of bottle of water for what, like $6 or something like that. So I mean, literally, you can get 10 cases of water, and you got like $40, $50 into it. That money right there, and having that kid hand them out saved that guy's life. You know, so it's not just giving them water but that gesture, but that heat exhaust. I mean, it could have been anything, but pretty remarkable that happened. They were able to save that gentleman, and you know, tip of the cap to that kid for helping with that. Apparel. We had a line of apparel come out, including our Unwritten Rules brand. But we also have a lot of different stuff. The link is on our Facebook page. So go ahead and click on that. We had a pre-order deal for the 100 for the Billy's Unwritten Rules apparel. Speaking of that, there was another Unwritten Rules deal at Hibbing. Jason Vandenkamp in the Midwest Mods, after the heat, he had a chain limiter on the left rear, perfectly legal. But it was at an angle apparently, and old Billy's like, well, that can't be at an angle. doesn't say that in the rule book anywhere there, guy. I'm just gonna go ahead and point that one out to you. So I don't know. It's there's the rule book's big enough. We don't need to be making our own rules. Just go ahead and point that out, right? I want to give one more shout out here to Harry Hansen. Speaking of the old XR1 Rockets, drives for Pat Capella, the KME #7. Pair of seconds this weekend. I'll be honest, he kind of struggled the last couple 2-3 years. Kind of wondering, man, is he going to get back into his winning ways at all? Did not get the win, but he got second 2 nights this weekend. One night at the Labor Day Shootout, one night at the Silver 1000. He looked pretty darn sporty in that rocket. Probably would have had a good finish. Got caught up in a little melee there on night number 2 of Labor Day. So tip of the cap there to Harry Hansen. Bert, let's jump into our final segment here. 3 bold predictions where usually Bert and I and a fan or Jeff or Coach Krause, whoever it may be, we'll make 3 racing related or sports or show related predictions. They either got to be something that did or did not happen, not an opinion type deal. Keep track of the wins and the losses. And that's brought to you by Mason Aaron's Videos. Got to see Mason this week, and he made the trip up to Grand Rapids and up to Proctor. And there's a podcast called the Track Packers Podcast. And Jessup and Becca and Mason were all there. I was talking to them guys on the phone, Bert, and all of a sudden I hear gunk. Like, the hell was that? They hit a deer. And just earlier in the day, apparently Becca got some kind of fender bender. And Jessup was kind of chirping her just a little bit, and then he hit a deer. I'm like, well, that probably should have just kept quiet there, the guy. That didn't work out very good. They were all okay, though, but good to see them guys. Off the board this week, Bert, literally out of all these, I think you're the only guy that got anything right. Like, we all sucked this week. You said old Brandon Shepard was going to get a pair of podiums. Yeah, first and a second. That was a yes. You said Kyle Peterman was going to win at least one in Hibbing. That was correct, as he won both of them. Then you said David Gravel was going to win at least 2 of the 4.
I jinxed him.
That did not work out very good. I said that between Jeff Provenzino, Jeff Massengill, and Kyle Peterman, on the 4 nights, they were going to combine for at least 5 podiums. Bert, Peterman had 2 wins. Massengill had a first and a second. Provenzino had a pair of 4ths. Last I checked, 4ths were not on the podium. So that was a no.
Close.
So close. So close yet so far. Coach Krause said the old cowboy Shane Hall was going to win at the Viking Speedway and climb the fence. Well, first of all, you got to win. And that did not happen. He said the one TPO was going to sweep all the late model A mains that he raced in this week. So Tyler Peterson, Jeff Krause is the guy that jinxed you. Go ahead. You can get probably Facebook friends, but thank him for your weekend. Justin Vogel, going to get 4 of 5. Well, he only ran 4 because they canceled on Monday. He won 2, so 2 of 4. Good weekend still for Vogel. Took the point lead, but a little bit short there for Krause. And another fan said that 4 different late model winners were going to win at the Northern shows, the Silver Classic and Labor Day. And, well, it ended up being 3 different winners because Peterman doubled up. And then another gentleman said Mike and Iverson was going to win at US 24, and he had a DNF. That did not work out. And Nick said a non-local will win all 3 Midwest Mod A mains between the Wissota Classic and both days at Labor Day. I thought he was right, and then I looked. I'm like, well, wait a second. Devin Van House won night number 1 of the shootout. So let me ask you this, Bert. So he has to drive. He's from Silver Bay. It's about 80 miles or so, but he's pretty much been a local car in Hibbing. Races there weekly. This year, most weeks, not every week. Would he be considered one of the local guys, being that he races there all the time?
If he races there on a regular basis, I would call him a local.
Yeah. So if we get a bunch of heat over this one from the fans, we'll give them credit. So in the comments below, right? should Devin Van House be considered one of the locals at the Hibbing Raceway? If so, he got it wrong. If you're like, no, he's not a local, then he got it right. We'll see. We'll see we'll see how much feedback.
I mean, that's like in Shawano Speedway, the Todd and Gunnar Frank race there every week, but they are from Iowa. Are they locals?
They're not from Iowa. They have a place in Iowa. It says Iowa on my race pass. Yeah, they're Wisconsin guys, right? So,
but I mean,
probably over that way. Aren't they from Green Bay originally or something like that?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. If we get a lot of feedback, we'll just see if we get any feedback there. And he also said Jody Belfi was going to win the Silver 1000. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. He struggle bus there. So our standings, Bert, I'm at 39 correct, 56 incorrect with a 41.1% win rate. You're at 40 correct and 59 incorrect at a 40.4. So we're close. Listeners, 8 correct, 36 incorrect, 18.2. They got some work to be done. So make 3 laps around here. My boy Alex sent me over 3 predictions here. We don't have Kraus, so it's just us 3. So what I'll do is we'll let you go, then I'll share Alex's, then I'll share mine. We'll make 3 laps around the track. Bert, prediction number 1.
I say World 100, there will be 2 Illinois drivers on the podium.
Wow. 2 Illinois drivers on the podium at the World 100. Off the record, do you have 2 in mind?
Pearson Bishop.
Okay. All right. 2 Illinois drivers on the podium at the World. Okay. Alex said the Wolverine Justin Vogel is going to win at least 2 A-mains at the sites this weekend.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the World 100 as well. And I'm going to say, kind of painful for me because I'm a Pierce boy, as you can see. I think the honeymoon's over. I just don't think this is his kind of forte unless there's a cushion, right? Both Bobby Pierce and RTJ are going to miss the podium at the World 100. Bert?
I will say at the sites, AJ Dima will keep his podium streak alive.
Well, that fits right in with this next one here from Alex. The honeymoon's over. AJ Dima will not be on the podium at the sites. And I'm going to go a little...
this is the sites race, not the prelude.
Not the prelude. This is the sites, the 92 lapper. Yep. I'm going to go to the couple grassroots classes here, Bert. Couple Grand Rapids Speedway regulars, right? Justin Barsness in the Hornets, Josh Berg in the Pure Stocks. They are both going to win the Wissota MPH Invitational this weekend in Bemidji. And they are both going to win the 2023 National Championship in their respective divisions.
Okay.
And last lap, white flag in the air, Bert Laban.
I will say Mike Mullen will be on the podium in 2 different divisions at Outagamie Speedway on Saturday.
Mike Mullen, 2 podiums Saturday. Okay, gotcha. Alex, Trevor Nelson will sweep the weekend in the Super Stock and take over second in the national standings, and he will finish second in the Wissota Super Stock National Points Race. So I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go to the. I'm gonna go to the sites as well. 2 of these 3 drivers will finish on the podium. Okay, remember Shaw's he won that last year. Sang's been good, right? I mean, perennial podium guy's been AJ Demo. Mike Gresseth hasn't really ran well at the sites. Dustin Strand, it's kind of been his Achilles heel. Jeffrey Massengill's kind of been on the rise. So between Massengill, Strand, and Gresseth, at least two of those three will finish on the podium at the sites. So there we have it, Bert. I need to get this hot rod back rolling here. Again, thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to all the fans for tuning in. Any closing thoughts there from Bert Lehman before you get all packed, locked, and loaded to head to Eldora?
No, just this weekend is probably one of the best weekends for big races locally, regionally, and nationally.
There's a lot of stuff this week for sure. I mean, the Boone Super Nationals, World of Outlaws, World 100, the sites, the Northern Nationals. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. There's a ton. So if you can, get to the track. If you can't, jump online to your favorite streaming platform, catch your favorite race. If you go to the track, bring a bunch of people with you and go introduce them to some drivers so they have somebody to cheer for. But Bert, always a pleasure. Drive safe here on your way out there, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you tomorrow. But as for the night, we'll call it an end here. I'm Ryan Aho. That is the Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.